It's a great day. My name is Che Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur, and welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the #1 business development and revenue focused late night show in the country where we are on a mission, by the way. And our mission really is to empower, our mission is to inspire, and our mission is to provide you, the entrepreneur, with all of the resources that are necessary to execute that big vision you have for the people you were called to serve. And on this episode, you have the one and only LaShanda, who's in the building, and she'll be talking about, do you want to be made whole again? Can't wait to hear about that. What's going on, LaShanda? How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for the opportunity. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks a lot. I know we're talking about, do you want to be made whole again? Take a moment, because some folks are just seeing that title for the very first time, might be wondering, what in the LL Cool J is she talking about? So take a moment. When you say, do you want to be made whole again? Why are people, what is being made whole again look like? That's it. What does being made whole look like? What does it feel like from your perspective? So we can all at least be on the same page.
Okay, alrighty. So, Do You Want to Be Made Whole is the title of my first book. I came up with that concept because just listening to sermons in church, one of the scriptures that stuck with me was about, one of the stories in the Bible that stuck with me was about a man that was laying by the pool of Bethesda, and Jesus asked him, did he want to be made whole? And the man kept coming up with excuses. I believe he was lame in his feet, he couldn't walk. But Jesus asked, do you want to? And so the concept of do you want to be made whole is based on us in our day-to-day lives in which where we have our issues, shares of struggles, generational trauma, all of those things. And the question is, do you want that to change or do you want your life to stay the same? And so, being made whole, what I'm promoting is addressing all needs for yourself. I call it being unapologetically selfish to address all aspects of your life: mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical.
Perfect explanation. Thanks for sharing. And, for the person watching, they might be curious, why are people struggling these days to really take care of themselves? Like, why is that even a conversation we're having in today's world when they have ChatGPT? If they're down, they could at least ask it a question. Maybe we'll give them some pump up music and maybe give them
Right.
some great one liners. They could turn on
Mm-hmm.
Instagram on any given day and watch a video. I'm like, yes, I feel inspired.
Mm-hmm.
And they have
Mm-hmm.
access to all the apps and technology, yet they're still struggling.
Mm-hmm.
Why? I guess it's a loaded question, but why are people struggling these
Yeah.
days?
Well, you kind of touched on part of what I'm going to say in my answer. So we have access to resources. So, like you just said, if I'm down, I can pull up a video on YouTube or just, type in something to inspire me. But if my head is hurting, I'm not addressing the headache. Or if I am a churchgoer, let's say, for example, and I'm hearing praise your way through, and I'm praising my way through, but my heart is still broken. I'm not addressing everything. And so what it is that I'm promoting is basically to use all of those resources, put everything together so that you can address all aspects of your life, because we often get used to functioning in dysfunction. And so my goal is to break that idea of functioning dysfunctionally, because we all need to be helped.
Now, before we get into what that looks like as well, our audience and our folks who watched, they're dualpreneurs. They work
Mhm.
full-time jobs. They're a full-time husband or a full-time wife or in a relationship. Some are responsible for taking care of their kids. Others have
Mhm.
maybe have responsibility of being a caregiver. Other folks are involved in their community, or like you said, in their faith community, and their kids have schedule, and they're so busy, and they may be wondering a question, at least on my mind, which is, wow, what do you say to the person that says, I'm taking care of everybody else? I need LaShanda to know
Mhm.
this. I've got a busy schedule. In fact, I got some boxes Shay didn't even check on there that I'm doing as well, by the way. So here's the question. How does one not feel guilty making sure they're taken care of when they have responsibilities and everybody's dependent on them? If that makes sense to
Absolutely.
you.
It makes 100% perfect sense. because we often are spread very thin as people in whatever our roles are. And so if we are not good to ourselves, we're not good to anybody else. And so the promotion of being made whole, as I said, is for everyone to just take time out for yourself to make sure that you're good in all aspects of your life. You know, we won't always have things perfect and easy, but if there's something that we need to address, then we need to stop and pause and try to address that. Whether if it's professionally, if we are tired and need to rest, if we need to visit a doctor, you know, all kinds of, like I said, all of the things in addressing our mental health. Oftentimes, we as people neglect our mental health, particularly in the Black community. We don't often talk about addressing mental health because of the stigma that comes along with that.
The curious now, I'm curious. We're talking about all things they should do, and they're like maybe the person talking, Shay. I didn't get a chance to read her bio. I haven't been to her website. Didn't Google her yet. Let's slow
Okay.
down. Let's hear her backstory. Hear a little about who she is. So you know the question where I'm going towards, which is who are you? What's the backstory? But more importantly, what was that defining moment? That moment you said, "This is what I'm born to do."
Okay. So again, I'm LaShanda Loughridge. I am by profession an educational diagnostician. What that is where I assess students for learning disabilities and work with families to create IEPs, individual education plans, for students that have disabilities. I also am an author. I am a mother of four beautiful children, and I've done podcasting. I'm a pastor's daughter. I wear a lot of hats. And so, one of the reasons why I personally started pushing this out basically started this year, earlier this year around my birthday. It's in January. And I had written a lot of, just did some posts on Facebook, you know, just about pressing reset on my life 4 years ago. I wanted to share my journey with the world, you know. And in response to that, a lot of women responded saying, "Wow, thank you for sharing your story. I went through that too." And there was once a time where I was once ashamed for talking about addressing mental health because you never want anyone to think that you don't have it together. But we are all walking around here as train wrecks, and so we all need assistance in some kind of way. Even the strongest person needs to be checked on, and so that is why that happened for me. One of my aha moments was a breakdown that I had in front of my kids, and it was basically just geared towards I was spread so thin with managing who's picking up, who's dropping off, what are we eating tonight, the bills need to be paid, I don't have the money, you know, all of those things, and had to get used to a new life of co-parenting. And so with that, you know, just that communication factor, I had a really bad breakdown in front of them that did some collateral damage that you know, you can't take words back. But what I recognized in that moment was I needed to stop. I had been working multiple jobs. I was exhausted. And I just was not taking care of myself. I was taking care of everything and everybody else. And so I decided that I was going to stop so that I could visit a counselor and talk with them about what was going on with me because those ideas just they just kind of once you get that set in your head, they just kind of manifest. And so I wanted to do something about that and recognize within myself I need to change what I'm thinking.
Thanks for being so transparent. Thanks for being so open right now. You talked about you did seek some counseling as well. Was that
Mhm.
counseling through the faith community, or was that counseling through another channel?
Well, yes. So you have different avenues of
Yeah.
counselors. And so, of course, in the faith community, yes, you know, you have your pastor, you have your, you know, your church members and friends and family, but you also have mental health professionals that are actually trained to help you as you navigate through those challenges. They are certified professionals. And so, whereas we think, you know, I just want to pick up the phone and call my grandma, let's say, for example, talking to grandmother will make me feel better. You know, that's not always the answer. It may make you feel better for in that moment, but if you're not addressing that deep rooted trauma, it's going to come out in some kind of way. And oftentimes, unfortunately, it comes out in a negative way. And we shape our thinking and our experiences based on our history of things that we've gone through. And so it's my goal to promote addressing mental health in our community, particularly women. I have a heart for young mothers, families that have children with disabilities. There's just so many things that we as people contend with in our life circumstances, whether if we asked for them or if we didn't. And sometimes, it becomes too much to bear. And so that's my goal is to push out. You can do it, you can make it, and it is okay for you to take care of yourself.
I love it. So I'm thinking right now as you're speaking, a lot of folks are sitting there and somebody showed up because of the overwhelm right now. You talk about going from bitterness to brokenness, from forgiveness to surrender. There might be one, okay, Shay, if there was step one, step two, and step three. And again, someone is sitting there like, man, I haven't never done this before. But what's the first step I should do? I thought I can handle it. And the reason I brought up the faith community versus going to professional help is because I know in some communities, at least in my community, sometimes that going to the other side, like, no, you got everything you need right here. You don't need to go anywhere else. And I'm glad you talked about the part of making sure there is a health side, a mental health side, and professionals are geared to do that. But my question directly is, someone's watching right now, they're leaning forward and saying, I'm her right now. What is step one they should do, step two they should do, and step three, if you had to put it into two or three steps?
Well, the first thing is to acknowledge. You know yourself better than anybody else. You know what you feel. You know what is inside of your heart that is broken. That is the first step, I would say, is to acknowledge that you feel the way that you do. The second thing that I would say is to, when you're accessing those mental health professionals, oftentimes we want to go back to revisiting those situations or talking to that person that caused hurt in our lives, or, people have different ways of coping and dealing with things that have happened to them that have been traumatic. Oftentimes, there are people that hurt you that won't acknowledge that they did. Or if you share the way that you feel with them, you may not get the response that you thought that you should get, because everybody is not you. You are you. And so, what it is that I promote is that I have to acknowledge myself first. What is my role in this situation or in the way that I'm feeling? So I would say first, acknowledge the problem. Secondly, acknowledge you as a part of whatever is happening. And then thirdly, you want to tackle whatever um, is the biggest thing, I would say. Mental health professionals help with creating those plans. So there are programs through the employee assistance program, for example. You have all types of counselors, psychologists, psychiatrists through insurance plans. There are several facilities just all over where mental health is addressed, but we don't talk about it enough until someone commits suicide or until something really horrible happens to a person. And so, and then it's like, well, maybe we should go talk to somebody, maybe we should get some help. But if we're more proactive in addressing all those aspects of our lives, then maybe that we would have a better opportunity.
I love it, man. Thanks for being so transparent, by the way. Those are spot on. It's a good segue to a segment we have here called Today is My January 1st. Now, for those folks who tune in every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you already know what we're about to do. In fact, some of you wait to this one moment so you can say those words. And I try never forget to do it. And that is, you can say it, today is my January 1st. Happy New Year to you. For all the new folks who are watching for the very first time, welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur family. We're glad you're here. Today is my January 1st is our personal mantra here. It represents a fresh start. It represents a do over. It means the past, no matter how dark and gloomy that past is, or how bright and sunny that past is, the past really no longer equals the future. And so, my question for LaShanda on the other side is, when you hear those words, today is my January 1st, what goes to your mind? What do you even hear? And number two, what was another challenge, a setback you had in your life, and how did you overcome that obstacle?
Well, we navigate through this thing called life, and like I said, we have circumstances that are handed to us that we asked for, and some of them we didn't ask for, right? And so when I hear today is my January 1st, I think about myself when I restarted my life 4 years ago. And so at that point of time, I had never lived independently at the age of 38. And so I walked away from marriage of 17 years, in which it was very hurtful and heartbreaking to do so because we don't get married to get divorced, right? But sometimes that's what has to happen in order, for things to move forward and for you to grow. And so I decided that I did not want to continue in that type of lifestyle and setting, and decided that I wanted to do what was best for me. And so, in doing so, I got married very young. I was maybe 20, 21. And
Wow.
so I went from my parents' house to being a wife. So I never had that opportunity to live independently, date, get to know myself as a person, and then here I am trying to be somebody's wife. Oh, and then we got pregnant. And so the baby started coming. And so, it's a learning curve. And, those years of my life were not, when you hear the term of getting divorced, we automatically associate that with negativity. And that's not necessarily what it is that I feel, because I had a wonderful life with my children's father and with my kids. We just grew in different directions and had different visions and focuses and interpretations of things that we want to do in our lives. And so we went our separate ways. But what it was that I decided for myself was that I wanted to establish who I was as a person. At this particular point in time, I had already had graduated from school, and so my career was there. But if someone is starting out for the first time, then what is that short term goal that you want to achieve? Do you want to go back to school? What, do you have a degree? Can you use the degree that you have to start some type of process? To plant yourself in some areas. So number one, it was important for me to get my own place. Number two, to establish myself in my career. And so I did, by the grace of God, accomplish both of those things. But it wasn't easy because I had never done this before. So I had to get used to being by myself. Whereas I was always surrounded with noise because we have 4 kids. And so there was always some type of activity happening in the house where everybody's laughing or, jolly and jovial. But that was a complete change for me. I had to get used to going places alone. And so you hear of women taking themselves on dates and things like that. I had never done that before, and so that was something different. I allowed myself to take myself on a date, and I went out and had a blast. I went to a live music set and heard a good friend of mine sing and ordered some food and got a good drink and just had a jolly good old time. And I was there alone, not necessarily attending with someone, but there were people there that were next to me that were up and dancing and having a good time. And so I joined in with them. So that let me know that it was okay for me to do that. You don't always have to do things with other people, you know? And so I kind of started learning that, okay, I got this, I can do this. And I wanted to make sure that wherever I went, my um, mission or legacy is consistently the same. You know, I want to show love to people wherever I am. If I'm in the grocery store, I'm going to smile and greet. If someone is in need of some type of help or assistance, I want to be a person that can be a support system for someone that may not have that support system because we all need somebody. And so I wanted to be said that I loved, I lived and I loved. And so I try to be neutral wherever I am to give, not only the love of my faith, my love for Jesus, but just being, who I am. And everybody, meeting me, LaShanda the person.
Wow. Well, congratulations to you, by the way. You're looking wonderful, doing some amazing things now. And as you were talking, I'm wondering, how are you able to take action in the face of fear? You've talked a number of times that you were able to still move forward, and all the answers
Mm-hmm.
weren't there.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, starting over again, as you mentioned it, is a very tough decision, but you're able to
Mm-hmm.
do it. So the question I have for you is, how do you still take action when maybe you're fearful, or maybe someone watching saying, but everything wasn't perfect, everything wasn't lined up. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what does she tell herself? Like, how was she able to move forward? That's the question. How are you able
Mm-hmm.
to move forward when everything's not lined up and maybe you're a little afraid?
Yeah, so I say that, if I don't do it, it won't get done. So, for example, I have a fear of bugs. Oh, my Lord. If I see one crawling out of here right now in our interview, you would just see me gone because I can't handle them. But, you know, there was a point one day when I was by myself and one crawled out, and I was like mortified, but nobody else was there to take care of that but me. And I had to do it, screaming and everything, running, hitting and running away and that kind of thing. But, we have to have faith in ourselves. Oftentimes, we don't give ourselves enough credit for the strength that we have. Unfortunately, there are times when we don't have a choice but to be strong. But, we don't channel that I can do this energy, that's within us because that's God given. He gives us the strength and gives us the power to be able to do those things. And so, one of the reasons why I'm able to is because I don't depend on my own strength. I depend on God. And so that's one part of it. But if I don't do it, who else will? And so that's what I try to live by. And then that's when I started recognizing when I needed to pause particular times because I was exhausted or this situation is not working for me. Maybe I need to do something different. Prioritizing myself first so that I was good for every decision that I was making and opportunity that I was a part of.
Yeah, love it. One of my favorite questions I get to ask is, what's one of the best pieces of advice you've ever been given? And we're not asking you to come up with something like, I was just saying 10 Commandments or coming off the mountain with some tablets or anything of that
Mm-hmm.
nature. But I know you've had a lot of mentors. It sounds like you've read a lot of books, you watch countless videos and so many online courses, I'm sure, and many other things. But if you had to step back and
Mm-hmm.
say, man, what's one of the best pieces of advice, one of them that's been given to me that I want to pass on to the audience, what would it be and why?
I would say to someone that's watching, you are great as you are. Oftentimes, we try to measure up to standards of others because we think that they are of a particular status in life, or, from someone that is a CEO of a company to a janitor. We all are people, we all matter, and nobody is above anybody. And so, once I allowed myself to believe that I was just as good as, I started, unlearning that concept because we want to be like such and such, but you have no idea what such and such went through to become who they are. They have silent battles too. And so I would say that the greatest advice that I've ever received is nobody is above anybody, and you can do anything that you put your mind to.
What do you enjoy most about what you're doing these days? When you talk about being yourself, you talk about helping people be whole, you get excited, see a smile come on
Hmm.
your face. What do
Hmm.
you enjoy most about what you're doing?
Wow, I have been afforded so many opportunities in just me allowing myself to step out of the box. I always knew that I wanted to write a book, but I never could narrow down the topic. And then being made whole was what the concept was, so it all came to me full circle. But I just want to be sure that everybody is living their best life. What do you need to change, or do you need to change, or what do you need to address about your life to make you feel better about what you're doing, feel better about who you are as a person, I would say, just to make sure that that self care is what is the number one thing.
And what do you do for fun these days when you're not out saving the world, not out at concerts, when you're out hanging out, like you were telling us earlier? What do you really enjoy for fun these days since you've now found yourself, obviously?
Oh, I love to have a good time. I would say that I'm churchy, and so going to church is always great for me. A good choir, good, spirit-filled church service is what I love. But for fun, also, I love going to visit restaurants, movies. I enjoy reading. I enjoy doing things. You were asking me about what are some things that I have also been doing. So I've partnered with a friend of mine, and we started a women's empowerment group called Sisters with Purpose. And every now and again, we'll get a group of ladies together to go just get out and do things because so many people just sit in the house and they don't get to experience the world. So we have ideas of like going bowling, going to eat, just the sister circle, sitting and talking, holding one another accountable. I love that. I've been doing some speaking engagements, podcasting, as I've shared. I also love traveling. I do not mind hopping on a plane or a boat and just going somewhere to enjoy for whatever the reason is or the occasion is. I even went on a vacation by myself. Had never done that before,
Oh
but it was
wow!
so
What's one of your favorite places to go? I mean, I know you go to a lot of places, but what's one that pops top of mind to you? You can't leave us on the edge. We're all curious right now, by the way.
I am a Bahamas girl.
Woo! I
I
love the
love taking
Bahamas.
Yes, yes. I love taking this a Margaritaville cruise that is free for educators, and I take advantage of that as much as I possibly can. And so, but yes, I'm wanting and hoping to start traveling more internationally, checking off those bucket list items. So my mantra has become, you're only going to live one time. And when it's all said and done, I want it to be said that I lived my life. And I didn't wait for anybody else to make it happen for me. I
I know
wanted to
that's
make it
right.
myself. Yes, because I will continue to sit here waiting on people. So,
Nah, we ain't waiting on nobody. As we come down the home stretch, two-part question. Number one, that's kind of funny. I like it. Number one, what type of clients are you looking to work with these days, if any? And number two, how can folks best connect with you? How can they stay in this conversation over and beyond the time that you and I have right now?
okay, I would love to connect with. It's not my mission is not just for women, it's for men too, men as leaders of families or the one that's responsible for taking care of everything. They have pressures of life themselves and they need to address and prioritize who they are as people also. It's not just for women. But my goal is to work with anyone who feels less than, feels, pretty low about themselves or fear. They let fear stand in the way of becoming their fullest potential. Now, I am not a certified counselor by trade. I think I may have been in a former life or something like that because I have such interest in it. But my goal is to empower. And so, whoever needs to be empowered, that's what I am wanting to do. That's what I like to do. And the second question was again, tell me one more time.
Where can folks best connect with you? What's the best way for them to connect with you?
Yes, and so you can always visit my website. I'm at www.LaShandaLoughridge.com. I have contact information there for booking and just ways to reach out to me. I have my books that are on Amazon. Do You Want to Be Made Whole? I also have the It Starts With Me. That is the second book that I have, and then also a graduate guide for working with those students or people that have graduated from high school or wanting to look into the next phase of their life, whether they're getting a certification or trade. And also podcasting. I could be found on all podcast platforms. Do You Want to Be Made Whole is the title of the podcast.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for being on the Happy Entrepreneur Show. We appreciate it. Can't wait to connect with you again soon.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
And thank you. Thank you to viewers. Thank you for tuning in, by the way, because without you, well, we don't have a show. So we appreciate when you show up. We appreciate you watching. I read all the comments. We respond. If you're on one of the platforms, you can hit the share button. That really means a lot to us. You can pay this message forward to your community, to another community that can benefit. And I never get tired of reminding you every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time that you're really special. You're really unique. You're an individual that has so much greatness inside you. You're doing good in the world. And no matter what's going on in your life right now, whether you're doing really, really well and there's another level to get to, or you've been hit with the punch that you never saw coming, one thing I know for sure is that today is your January 1st. And because of just that one reason, your best is still yet to come. Your best is yet to come. Your best is yet to come. With that being said, my name ain't changed. It's still Jay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. We'll make some good things happen. We connect again next time. Peace, LaShanda. We out here, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.